The old iron gate groaned as it opened, and the man standing beside it looked so ordinary that no one gave him a second glance. His jacket was faded, his boots worn thin, and his hands rough like someone who had worked all his life. Yet behind those tired eyes was a secret worth billions. This was Victor Hale, one of Canada's most powerful business tycoons, disguised as a poor gatekeeper on the day he would finally learn the truth about the woman his son planned to marry. Victor had built his empire from nothing after immigrating to Canada decades ago. He knew hunger, rejection, and cold winters when hope felt thinner than the snow under his shoes. His son, Daniel, however, had grown up in warmth and comfort, surrounded by privilege Victor had once dreamed of. When Daniel told him he was engaged to Sophie, Victor smiled and gave his blessing, but deep inside, a fear gnawed at him. Did she love his son, or the life his money provided? Victor decided he wouldn't ask questions. He would watch, listen, and feel the answer himself. That morning, Daniel and Sophie arrived at the family estate to help prepare for a charity event. Daniel had gone inside to meet the staff, leaving Sophie near the gate with her phone in her hand. Victor straightened his cap and spoke softly, asking if she could sign the visitor log. Sophie looked up, surprised, then smiled politely and took the pen. Her kindness felt natural, not forced. Still, Victor told himself it was too soon to judge. As the hours passed, Victor stayed near the gate, opening it for delivery trucks and guests. The cold wind cut through his jacket, and Sophie noticed. Without saying much, she brought him a cup of hot coffee from inside. "It's cold out here," she said gently. "You should warm your hands." Victor's throat tightened, but he nodded and thanked her, hiding his emotions behind lowered eyes. Later, a misunderstanding happened. One of the event coordinators accused Victor of letting a wrong vehicle enter and spoke to him harshly in front of everyone. Sophie stepped forward before Victor could defend himself. Her voice was calm but firm as she explained the mistake wasn't his fault and apologized to him on behalf of the staff. People stared, surprised that someone dressed so elegantly would stand up for a poor gatekeeper. Victor felt something crack open in his chest. When lunchtime came, Sophie noticed Victor sitting alone by the gate with no food. She asked if he had eaten. When he shook his head, she insisted he join her. She didn't bring him leftovers. She sat beside him on a bench, sharing her meal, listening as he spoke vaguely about coming to Canada with nothing and working hard just to survive. Sophie's eyes filled with tears as she listened, not out of pity, but respect. "You must be very strong," she said quietly. "People forget how much courage it takes just to keep going." Those words hit Victor harder than any business loss he had ever faced. For the first time in years, his vision blurred. He turned away so she wouldn't see the tears forming. As evening fell, Daniel gathered everyone in the courtyard. Victor was called forward, still in his gatekeeper clothes. Confusion spread across Sophie's face as Daniel gently placed an arm around her and introduced Victor not as a worker, but as his father. Gasps echoed. Sophie froze, her face pale with shock. Victor watched closely, his heart pounding. This was the moment he had prepared for. Sophie looked from Daniel to Victor, then slowly walked toward the older man. She didn't apologize. She didn't get angry. Instead, she reached out and hugged him tightly. "I'm glad you did this," she whispered. "Now you know who I am when no one is watching." Victor couldn't hold back anymore. Tears streamed down his face as he hugged her back, his shoulders shaking. All his fears dissolved in that simple embrace. He had tested her wealth, status, and power, and she had answered with humanity. That night, Victor spoke to the guests with a trembling voice. He told them that success meant nothing if it robbed you of compassion, and that true richness lived in the heart. He welcomed Sophie into the family not because she had passed a test, but because she reminded him of the values that once built his life. As the lights dimmed and the cold Canadian night settled in, Victor stood by the gate one last time, no longer as a disguise, but as a reminder. Sometimes, the greatest lessons come when we strip away everything and see how someone treats those who seem to have nothing.